If you clicked on this video in search of good vibes or an uplifting spirit to get you through this otherwise shitty Saturday, well, you came to the wrong spot, because what I found on the internet today is quite possibly one of the saddest, most depressing fan fiction pieces I have ever came across, and I want to share it with you here today. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the life and times of OpTic Gaming, Chapter 3, The Legend. Will Johnson was struggling. He had been for months now, although he was reluctant to admit it to anyone or even believe it himself. The drive and determination he used to have in spades was now all but gone. He used to wake up in the morning, scarf down a quick breakfast, then grind Call of Duty almost non-stop throughout the day. Now, every time he picked up the controller, he felt a sense of dread. How did this happen? He wondered one day while hopping online to scrim with the team. Where did I go wrong? He could tell his teammates were frustrated with him. After one particularly bad play, he heard an audibly upset Matthew Haig criticize him over voice chat. "Will, you need to grind this game, man. You can't be making plays like that." I know. I'm working on it. It won't happen again," Will replied. What Matt didn't know, unfortunately, was that it wouldn't happen again because Will had finally made up his mind. The next tournament would be his last. He was retiring from competition. Will spent the next few days deciding how to break the news to both his teammates and his fans. He ultimately decided to make a video announcing it. This meant that he would be able to lay his thoughts out exactly how he wanted to and make sure he picked his words just right. He waited for an opportune time, which came the next morning. Matt was busy streaming and Seth was still fast asleep. He set himself up in Jordan Kaplan's old room, which was fitting since it was cold and empty, exactly how Will was feeling at the time. When he finished the first take, he loaded it up on his computer to see how it looked. Man, this is depressing, he couldn't help but think as he played it back. Is this how he wanted the public to perceive him? He took a deep breath, put on the best fake smile he could muster, and hit record again. The days leading up to his last tournament, UMG Philadelphia, flew by. Thankfully, the thought of competing in his last event ever gave Will a tenacity he hadn't felt in years. He needed to win this, not only for his fans and teammates, but for himself. He wanted to be able to say he went out with a bang, and taking home first place would be the absolute best way to do that. His win record was too close to being... what the fuck kind of word is that? Surpassed. I think he meant surpassed. So this would also help to delay the inevitable. The day before the tournament, he checked Twitter, hoping to hear from some well-wishers, but it looked like people were too busy talking about some e-girl drama that he didn't know or care about. Well, what can you do, he thought. This entire community has the attention span of a preteen. The team started out hot in round one, but ultimately lost the series. The loss only fueled his fire. Now Will was determined to get through the loser's bracket and prove that he can still hang with the best. They took the next round convincingly and moved on to face the next team, which happened to be an up-and-coming squad of young players. The match was almost too close to call. It came down to Game 5, but ultimately OpTic lost momentum and thus were eliminated from the entire tournament. They finished top 12. Will was speechless. He was devastated. He was ashamed. He sat and stared into space for what seemed like an eternity, as an intrusive thought built up in the back of his mind. He pushed it away, tried to think of something else, anything else, but it was fruitless. He finally succumbed and let it materialize. What if no one remembers me a few years from now? Well, it's a few years later. Look at me now, motherfucker.